Hey there. Today I thought we could talk about what I learned from this quilt and also compare some of the artwork I've done in the past to see if we can find any similarities. And I want to just give a shout out to those of you who commented on my first video, Quilt Like an Artist, and I greatly appreciate you letting me know that you'd like to see more of these. So thanks for that. For those of you who don't know me, I have been a designer since 1985 in both product and textiles, and I've been an artist my whole life. I decided to share this picture of myself at my easel. I believe I'm about 8 or 10 here. So it's in my blood, or as my mother would say, I come by it honestly. The quilt we're going to talk about today was designed using these fabrics, and I bring that up because I designed these fabrics, and we are going to talk about some of my other artwork to see if we can see any parallels. So the fact that I designed the fabric kind of plays into that. So with that said, let's get on with the design of the quilt and the prompt that started it all. So the prompt was to pick a shape and use that shape and only that shape in the development of the quilt. So I picked a square. This was the beginning of my journey as an art quilter, and I wasn't sure where I was going with it, and squares seemed kind of easy. So I wasn't used to cutting without a ruler, and so it was an adventure. And let me just say, cutting squares without a ruler is not easy. So picking a square because I thought it was easy, well, it kind of bit me in the you-know-what. I did decide that I wanted to start with the smallest square that I thought I could sew successfully. And so that is what this image shows. I was pretty happy with this. It showed that the squares were a little wonky, which means, yep, it's the improvisational method of cutting and sewing. And so I kept going. So I was cutting strips and then turning them and cutting those strips and then sewing them together to make the blocks. And sometimes they were off and sometimes they were on. And sometimes I forgot to not use the ruler. So I would find myself using the ruler, cutting a whole bunch of strips, sewing them in and going, oh crap, I used the ruler. So this quilt probably taught me to not use the ruler. And for those of you who are quilters who quilt traditionally, just try it. It's hard. It's hard to not grab that ruler and start cutting. I dare you. So this was my final layout, and had I known I was going to be making a video for you, I would have saved more pictures, because originally the center was always light and the outside was always dark, but it was very pixelated and fractally. There wasn't a straight line square like you see here. And when I was moving things around, at one point I saw a line and I went, oh, I could make a square in a square. Actually, I should say I could make a square in a square with squares. Again, that's like, I think, how my process works, how I think. The other thing that I do when I create art, and I think most artists have a couple tricks like this. One is you squint at it. One is you stand as far back from it as you can. You take a picture with your phone and look at it tiny on the phone. You go out of the room, come back in the room after a few minutes and see where does your eye go. And so when I was doing that with this quilt, and go ahead, squint and see what this quilt tells you. So upper right, I've got two black next to black, which makes a big rectangle. That is something I did fix because it really drew my eye there. At the bottom of the light square, there's a similar problem. However, that one I chose not to fix. And the final quilt is very close to this. You'll see it in a minute. The bigger issue I was having was that when I looked at this quilt, it looked like, to me, that I didn't know how to match my seams. So in other words, the wonkiness I was hoping for by doing this in an improvisational manner was not wonky enough. It just looked like I didn't know how to sew. I toyed with the idea of what can I do with this to make it look, modern and improvisational and not so traditional and artful. I struggled with that for a bit. And then I thought, what if? The what if questions, right? What if I slashed it at an angle in a curve and added some colored fabrics? Or what if I did it in black? And in the end, I decided to leave it as is because I really wanted to get on to the next quilt. And so that's what I did. I also kept thinking, I've seen this quilt before, which really bugged me. So, all right, I want to jump to a new subject, and that is that many times I see a parallel between work I've done in the past, whether it's quilting or art, and the work I'm doing now. And a lot of times it will show up on my phone where I'm influenced by my surroundings. So I'll have a picture of a landscape and then I'll go, oh my gosh, now I'm working in those colors, and I'm not even aware that I'm doing it until I look back. And so what I did here is I did notice one that jumped out at me that said, oh my gosh, those are the same colors. So the parallels in these examples are going to be basically color. Between lots of old work, lots of different styles. Remember, I've been doing this for, I don't even want to count how many years. So there's lots of work. But see if you can see the parallels between this quilt and some of my other artwork. Kind of fun, isn't it? It always amazes me. Sometimes I do things and then I look back and I go, oh my gosh, that's the scene I drive by every day on the way to the coffee shop. And I drew it and didn't even know. I mean, I wasn't trying to draw the scene on the way to the coffee shop. But that's why I love what I do. It's kind of magic. And this one I forgot all about, and when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh. Because I drew this long time ago, long time ago. And I don't know if you can read their shirts. It says same and different. And I currently have a set of twin granddaughters, identical, with red hair. This just made me smile. Once I was finished with this, I went back to creating traditional quilts for my fabric line to help promote the line, and that's what you're seeing here. If you're interested in any of them, they are available as PDF downloads on my website, and that is my plug for this video. As soon as I was done with these patterns, I went back to art quilting, and this was the next creation. If you want to see a video of how I created this one, it's called Surviving Everything. Let me know in the comments and I will get right on it. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Thank you. Bye.